Trey Wingo, 33rd team, DraftKings Television Network Pregame Powerup, the Alternate Routes podcast. This business card is like a book. It has volumes. It has chapters. How are you, sir?
Adam, very well. Sorry you didn't make it over to Munich.
Are you there? You're not there?
No.
I wouldn't be surprised, man. You get it. You go everywhere. You made the same joke I did, by the way. That apparently I thought that we were allies of Germany. Apparently not. We have sent them the Panthers and Giants, but this is what the NFL always does. We send routinely. We send kind of dog games over there, but it might be a good game. So who knows?
I was listening to Bob on Sirius XM radio describe it, and because he does a lot of work for the Giants on the radio work. He's like, there's a battle of two teams with winning records in international games. So there you go. That's the way to sell it.
That is outstanding. What do you make of the fact that we have 9 teams that still have 2 or fewer wins this year?
Yeah, Adam, it's ridiculous. I mean, the NFL loves to preach parity, right? That's their thing.
Right.
Anybody can win it. Not this year. I don't know if I've ever seen the gulf wider between the good teams and the rest of the league. If we're being as honest as we can, there are maybe, and I want to say maybe, 5 teams that I think have legitimate chances of hoisting the Lombardi Trophy. But to go into Week 10 and have 9 teams with only 2 wins, this is an awful season for a lot of football teams.
Yep, it is, and I think a lot of it was predictable. I mean, I didn't think the Panthers would be good. I didn't think the Giants would be good, and we're going to see them this week. I thought the Bengals would be better, even though Joe Burrow was coming back from the wrist injury last year, and it looked at the beginning of the season that maybe he was being bothered by it. He certainly is not bothered throwing the football. It seems fine, but the Bengals have been allergic to winning games. They have played better than 4-6, but Bill Parcells' old saying, "You are what your record says you are." They're a 4-6 football team. Let's just start at the end last night. Did Zach Taylor do the right thing?
I mean, yes, because, have a chance to win, go for it. I have no problem with that. And Justin Tucker, for as great as he's been, has been really off for about the last season and a half. So there's no guarantee that even if they get down there, that Justin Tucker's going to – I mean, he missed an extra point last night. Look, Justin Tucker's still arguably the greatest kicker of all time, even though he hasn't had the opportunity to kick in the Super Bowl. But, I mean, there was no guarantee that was going to work. But to your point about the Bengals, real quickly, I'm going to take a little bit of a victory lap here for a second, because I tweeted something out in August that I said I talked to some people in Cincinnati, and they just say the vibe isn't good right now. And I caught so much crap for that. And the New York Post put it on their sports page, and a lot of people in Central Ohio were like, "What the hell are you talking about?" So, I knew what the bleep I was talking about, for lack of a better term. Look at what Jamar Chase did last night, right? All the catches, 264 yards, all the touchdowns. Why haven't they paid him? Why haven't they paid him?
Because it's the Bengals.
That's exactly right. So for all this progressive things about Zach Taylor, and it's a new organization, it isn't. There's not another team in the NFL that wouldn't have already locked down Jamar Chase. And they're going to lose T. Higgins in the offseason. They lost Boyd because they thought they were going to pay him. They still haven't paid him. They're going to lose Higgins. And then it's going to be Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, and others for the Cincinnati Bengals. And, good luck with that. And to your point about Bill Parcells, who is absolutely right. Yes, they're 4-6, and yes, they could have won all these games. But you know what their record is in one-score games?
0-something.
1-5.
Yeah, close.
They are 1-5. So that's a team that is not learning how to win. They're learning how to lose games, and that's who they are right now. And so, it has nothing to do with Joe. Joe has been phenomenal. It has nothing to do with Jamar Chase. They have just found ways to lose games, and that's what bad teams do. That's not what good teams do, and I don't expect it to turn around, because if you look at their schedule, they're 4-6. Okay, At minimum, they got to go 5-2 down the way. They got to play the Steelers twice. They got to play the Chargers. They've got to play the Broncos, who, yes, got spanked by the Ravens, but Denver's a solid team with a really good defense. And, if they lose 3 of those games and win everything else, that's not going to be enough.
Oh, no. They can't lose 3 times. I think 9-8 will be a wild card team, but then you're at the mercy of the tiebreak. So you better win the right games to be 9-8. I will disagree with only one point that you said. There's not another team that wouldn't pay him. I'm pretty confident that Jerry Jones would wait until 2 days before the start of the regular season to pay Jamar Chase, because that's his history. I don't know why the Bengals are waiting. This is what we know about contract in every sport. The longer you wait, you end up at the front of the line. You pay more.
Yeah.
It's undefeated.
Yeah, I agree, and I that's fair about Jerry. Who, by the way, we talk about Jerry for a second. Okay, the Cowboys just put their quarterback, or are going to likely put their quarterback on IR because it's not just a hamstring injury. The hamstring is torn off the bone.
Yeah,
they're 3-5, and their quarterback is going to be out a minimum, I believe, of at least 4 games. So of course, what you do is trade for a wide receiver in that situation. But here's the piece de resistance, if you will. Okay,
yeah.
The Cowboys gave up a 4th-round pick to the Panthers for Jonathan Mingo.
Right.
And then now that there's 2 things that says to me. Number one, obviously, Mingo hasn't proven anything.
Nothing.
But they must have really liked him in the pre-draft process and just didn't get him. So they got a guy they like, right? But now let's take a look at the greater context. Why in the hell would you give up a 4th-round pick for Jonathan Mingo? To put it bluntly, the Cowboys gave the same compensation for Jonathan Mingo that the Chiefs gave the Tennessee Titans for DeAndre Hopkins. And that sentence says so much about both organizations, I don't feel like I even need to go into detail about it.
Well, it's funny. We talked about it yesterday because, of course, the Panthers are involved. To me, it was the classic used car situation. The Panthers bought a Mingo. They bought him, and then they drove it off the lot, and then they realized, you know what, this is not good for my family. So they sold it, and because as soon as you drive the car off the lot, it's worth less. So they took a 2nd-round pick, turned it into a 4th-round pick, and the Cowboys had like this impulse buy. Man, I've always wanted a Mingo. And they went and bought a pre-owned Mingo when they could have gotten a new Mingo probably next year and got a better model, because Jonathan Mingo, he can block, though. He's not much of a receiver, but he can block.
We have no idea what he is, so why would you give up a 4th-round pick for that? This was a 6th-round pick at best for Jonathan Mingo.
I'm 100%. The Panthers got more for Jonathan Mingo than they got for Deontay Johnson. It is absolutely mind-boggling. Trey Wingo is joining us here at Wingo's on Twitter. Is Baltimore's defense good enough to win a Super Bowl?
No, not right now. I mean, the only solace if you're the Ravens is this. In 2006, in Week 14, the Indianapolis Colts went down to Jacksonville and lost 44-17 in a game in which the Jaguars ran for, wait for it, 375 yards in that game. The only thing that stopped Maurice Jones-Drew and Fred Taylor was the end zone. Otherwise, they would have run for 6,000 miles in that game, okay? And after that game, Tony Dungy said, hey, this is fixable. We just missed some assignments. We're not doing a little things correctly. And people are like, oh, yeah, sure. Well, then in the playoffs that year, the Colts beat Larry Johnson, running back for the Chiefs,
right,
Jamal Lewis, running back for the Ravens, then Lawrence Maroney and the Colts and the Patriots in the AFC Championship game, and then the Bears with a really good running game in the Super Bowl. But it's going to take that type of turnaround, because if they play this way, they have no chance at winning it. No chance at winning it. There are too many teams that will light them up the way the Bengals did. I think, at some point, I think that the Chiefs are going to get significantly better on offense once they get everybody back and healthy. There's just no way. I don't know if I've ever seen, and I'd have to look it up, a Super Bowl champion that was DFL, dead freaking last in passing yards, defensed.
Right.
That's as bad as it gets.
No, it's never happened. A team that had finished last in pass defense in the league has never won the Super Bowl. Now, since we've kind of skirted around the best teams in the league, and let's get to the Chiefs, is a good analogy for this version of Kansas City. Essentially, they have become the New England Patriots. They have the best head coach in the league, albeit he's an offensive guy as opposed to a defensive guy in Belichick. They have the best quarterback in the league because they have not looked good, but I keep looking at their record, and they have no losses. So are they the Patriots?
They've been the Patriots for about a year and a half now, if we're being really honest about it. People come there to win a chip and then go get paid somewhere else. I mean,
Right.
Juju Smith-Schuster won and then got money in New England and came crawling back. I mean, look at all the players that have left. What have they won since they've left? Look at Tyreek Hill for all the things that he's done. They haven't won a playoff game since he left. And to your point about Andy Reid, one of the most amazing stats is that Andy Reid and Steve Spagnuolo, defensive coordinator, have gone 20. I want to make sure I get this right. 29 games without giving up more than 28 points. That's the longest streak in the NFL since Andy Reid's Eagles when he was the head coach, and one of his defensive assistants was Steve Spagnuolo. These guys just know how to do it, man. They know how to do it. And everyone's talking about, well, they haven't looked good. They don't care.
Yeah.
Like, they don't care at all. People are like, oh, Travis Kelce's washed. No, he isn't. Like, what other – look at the 2 games that he's played since DeAndre Hopkins got there. He's been on. And oh, by the way, ever since Rashee Rice went down, he's been averaging about 75 yards a game. If you multiply that over 17 games, that's a pretty healthy receiving yard total.
Yeah.
What other team, Adam, could lose their top 2 wide receivers and their top running back and still be undefeated? I mean, when Matthew Stafford lost Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp, it's like, oh, well, they're not good right now because they lost their top 2 wide receivers. Well, what happened when Brock Purdy played the Chiefs and they lost Brandon Ayuk and Deebo Samuel?
Right.
Didn't look good. Had a 30-something passer rating. The Chiefs are the only team that can find ways to win. They don't care about stats. They don't care about the unbeaten season. They care about winning the championship. They want to be the first team to pull off the three-peat, and I think they have an excellent chance to do it.
Yeah. Are they going to face the Detroit Lions in that Super Bowl?
Well, listen, you can't win a Super Bowl in November. You can lose it, but you can't win it. And right now, the Detroit Lions absolutely are the best team in the NFC, and it's by a wide margin.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Bill Belichick had a saying when his Patriots were as good as they were, fellas, we can win a lot of different ways. And the Lions can win a lot of different ways. Now, it certainly helps that they got Zadarius Smith because they have gotten no pressure on the quarterback since Aiden Hutchinson went down. And he's going to have to help stabilize that because literally that was the only sort of fly in the ointment for them. They have not generated any pressure since Aiden went down. And if Zadarius can give them that, then they're going to be a very, very tough out in the NFC.
All right, one more thing. I'm going to transition to it. I do think that if San Francisco can get and keep Christian McCaffrey in the lineup with all of their other injuries, I think San Fran can at least make it interesting in the West. But now, since the Jets are playing at division-leading Arizona, will we finally put the rest of football out of our misery and have Arizona beat the Jets this weekend?
Yeah, I think that's very likely. You know, everyone's talking about what a great win it was for the Jets over the Texans. I mean, the Texans were terrible in that game. They lost some of their best offensive linemen. And oh, by the way, we're starting this time of year where you see road teams go on the road in a Thursday night game. That short week, it matters. The last 3 times, I mean, the Bengals had a worse record, but like it's really hard to go on the road when you start getting into weeks 8, 9, 10, 11 of the regular season. You basically have no time to prepare, and it's such a huge advantage for that team to be at home. So I think this could be a very, very tough one for the Jets. They still got to play the Colts. They've got to go 5-2 to have a chance. And I don't see much optimism in the way they've played to think, oh, absolutely, for a team that lost 5 in a row and is 3-6, they're going to find a way to go 5-2 down the stretch. Their schedule isn't tough, but they have no margin for error. Zero.
None. And the quarterback isn't good enough. That's the biggest problem.
Yeah, that is true. Aaron, I always say there's 2 pictures of Aaron Rodgers, where he's doing the championship belt.
Right.
And there was that game in Arizona a few years ago. He's laying down on the field and his helmet's up over his head, staring bewilderedly. The Jets thought they were trading for championship belt Aaron Rodgers. What they really got was lying down on the field sideways, bewildered Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, it is. I'm sure that'll go well in the off season. He should retire, but man, they have mortgaged everything. But I talk about this all the time. That's why the Panthers are struggling at this point. It starts with ownership. Washington has proven that when ownership gets it right, and it looks like the Harris group has gotten it right in D.C., when ownership is good, everything else becomes just a little bit easier. And when ownership isn't, you get the Jets.
Absolutely.
Trey Wingo, 33rd team, pregame power up. He is everywhere at Wingo's on Twitter. Thank you very much, sir. And we'll talk golf next time, maybe.
That would be awesome. Appreciate that, Adam. Anytime.
You take care. Trey Wingo here on the Adam Gold Show.